Because this is a message that Congress has to hear and has to hear often. You can be a hero by cutting the research budget this year, and the economic damage that does, doesn't play out in the next election, but it plays out in the decades to come. It's almost a design failing of democracy, that all of the political incentives are near term, and that causes us to systematically underinvest in things with long-term payoffs, like federally funded research. And so making sure that everyone who works in these buildings here understands that those investments pay off not only 20 years from now, but will pay off in the sort of startup operations you're hearing about today.
We believe, Chris and I understand that the value of science in keeping America a competitive place in a global economy is at the forefront. And we want to make sure that we do everything that enhances the chances that science is honored and esteemed. I also would say, perhaps as an aside, that in my view, science gives the opportunity for policymakers like me to have better answers to difficult questions. So not only is this beneficial to our economy, but it's beneficial to our understanding of the world, so that decisions that we make have more value and have greater consequence, better consequence to the citizens we represent.
Thank you, Jerry, for being a good partner in the Competitiveness Caucus, something that we launched because we saw there was not one area to focus on all the different components of competitiveness globally, to look at tax, trade, intellectual property, innovation, immigration, other policy areas that if we don't get them right, we can reasonably predict that the United States will not be as secure and prosperous and promising a country as it's been. And federal investment in R&D is an absolutely linchpin piece of our being a competitive society going forward.
When I joined the university community, I had no idea the depth and breadth of the science that was happening at most universities, covering essentially all topics of inquiry. And what was particularly surprising to me was how commercially relevant so many of these inventions are. And a surprising number of those turn into products that are heading towards the market that will either save or improve people's lives. There were nearly 1,000 new startups created last year based on research emerging from the American universities, according to Autumn. But it's easy to hear those numbers and not necessarily have them have context. Because each one of those companies, if they succeed, will be something that you will all and your children and your children's children will be using in everyday life, and sometimes may actually save their lives.
And what our company is doing is using nanoparticle reagents that were developed in our labs. So we synthesize nanoparticles made from tiny semiconductor materials that light up, and we use them for cancer diagnostics. So if you've heard of personalized medicine, basically what happens is the physician has a choice of treating you with several different drugs, but each patient responds to different drugs differently. And so they need to know how to match patients to drugs. And we do this using things called biomarkers, which are proteins expressed inside or on your cell. And our technology detects those proteins so the physician can then look at the profile and decide which drugs you should get. Right now we have 3 employees. We're hiring 2 more by the end of the year. We were founded in 2012, so we're about 5 years into our journey. We expect to begin sales at the end of this year. And we'll be ramping quickly once sales begin. Our initial target market is leukemia and lymphoma detection, but we also plan to move into other cancers after that. And we've actually just started working on our follow-on technology, which is completely unrelated, but based on the same infrastructure. We're partnering with another company to expand our technology to food detection. So we're looking for E. coli and Listeria and Salmonella in the food stocks.